Bethany Manctalo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Welcome to the 2023-24 series of Millwall Noelites Talkings, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Mark Staunton, and with me I have the Noelites Talking team of Debbie Julians, Ted Robertson and Stan Goldwyn.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Welcome team and listeners, another win for Neil Harris and his Lions on Saturday, a 1-0 home win against Birmingham City. Debbie, how good was the win?
Yeah, any win is a good win. We played well in the first half. Second half, Birmingham was definitely on top. So 20 minutes, and then we came back fighting. And Tanganga scoring the wonderful header. It's centre-back, it's great. And he scored the last two winning goals, which is fabulous. Neil Harris didn't make any substitutions until late in the game. And what more off for long man? He knows the players he picked knew the game plan. So, and in the end, a little bit late, but there again, it got in there. So, a great goal.
Definitely. Ted, just how important is that win in our scrap against relegation?
Well, Miles, every win is an important win, especially when you're in the position that we found ourselves in. And what it's managed to do, them extra couple of points, as we've seen, as the Birmingham again lost in the week to Middlesbrough, that they are now 4 points below us, which is great. And we're 5 points clear of the relegation zone. And we've got a very difficult game coming up with Leeds, but it gives us a little bit of breathing space. We can go to Leeds basically with a more or less a free shot, knowing that even if we did lose, it's not going to drag us back into it. But what I will say is that on Saturday is the best way to win a football match without any shadow of a doubt. Watching Millwall for the years that I have done, and over the past few years, when Millwall score early, you feel like if they score in 10 minutes, you feel you're going to have 80 minutes of hanging on to your seat, hoping we're going to get through it all. But with the goal that Tanganga scored on Saturday, and the timing of it was so close to the end that thankfully we only had about 4 or 5 minutes to hang on to our seats. But they still didn't make that feel too easy for us, did they? But listen, it was a fantastic header from Tanganga. Very surprising because John Ruddy had come out and caught every corner we'd taken up until then without swingers. We put an in-swinger in. He was nowhere to be seen, but Tanganga gets there and puts a perfect header into the corner. Fantastic win. Keeps us going in the right direction. Gives us a little bit of breathing space for a free shot at Leeds on Sunday. And in the relegation sense, it's massive, especially to beat the teams that are around you. Everybody would call it a 6-pointer. They're probably right, certainly at this time of the season, because I just think about where we would have been if we'd have lost 1-0. But thankfully we didn't. We won our game, and things are looking much better than they did a week or two ago.
Yeah, exactly. You think about 2 weeks, we've picked up 10 points, but we're still 4 or 5 points off the relegation zone. It's worrying.
Yeah, I know. Listen, everybody else unfortunately started to win games when we did, but a couple of them stalled on Saturday with QPR losing, and Huddersfield losing. So, us winning that game, that's how tight it is. Look, they could win their games this weekend. We lose to Leeds and we're back to being 2 points clear of the relegation zone again. But, I've got a good feeling about Leeds. We can go up there and give them a game. If we can nick a point, I'll be over the moon. With that, God knows what I feel like if we win. But the point is, it's given us that little bit of a breathing space, whereas if we were still only like a 2-point gap to the relegation zone going to Leeds, it would have felt a lot more pressure on that game to get something. So, I mean, any win is a good win, but when you're beating the teams that are down there with you or around you, that makes it feel all the better, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Stan, it was a great Saturday for me. It made my week. Was it a good Saturday for you?
Oh, well, as Ted said, I mean, it was a good win. I mean, and we scored, at the right time. I mean, I was preparing myself for a draw, and then, 2 minutes from time, all of a sudden we get this corner. And before I know where we are, everybody's jumping up in the air going balmy. The game on Saturday, I mean, in the first half, we were the better team. And at half time, I'm thinking to myself, well, Birmingham are bad, but, they're going to come out, they're going to be better in the second half. And to be fair, they was. They was in control of the second half. And then about, 10, 15 minutes from the end, we suddenly started to get a grip of the game. And then, the pressure was going one way. I was hoping for a win, but I didn't think it would come. And then when it did come, on the overall impression of the game, I think it was probably deserved to win. I tend to take a slightly different view in this sense. I mean, all right, if the other teams around us are not picking up points either because they're losing or drawing, fine. Right, but at the end of the day, I don't get too hung up about it. And the reason I say that is because we have no control over what they do or what they don't do. I mean, all them other teams could win on Saturday and we go and play Leeds on Sunday and we beat Leeds. I just think what we have to do, well, while you're winning games, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And as it happens, I think if we get another about 2 or 3 wins or possibly 4 out of the last games remaining, then I think it will be enough. That's my personal view. And like Ted, I mean, I'm confident about Leeds because our record at Leeds is not that bad. And I remember we went up there in the playoff semi-final, the second leg. A lot of people expected us to lose and we beat them. And then I think it was the next or a couple of seasons later, we went up there and we beat them 2-0 with Morrison and Sean Batt. We won that game. So, no, I'm confident that we can get a result up there and if we win or get a draw, fine. Then we move on to the next game, and then just concern ourselves with what we have to do, and then fine.
Yeah, definitely.
It's easier said than done, but you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Focus on your own.
For me, it was a fantastic day. I was actually in the press box and I couldn't celebrate how I wanted it to. But honestly, if I'd celebrated how I wanted to, I might have broke my leg. So yeah. We'll take a break there and hear about our sponsors, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned mark. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julians here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 365 026. G&M Motors have been dear friends of the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Miles Thornton, and with me I have the Noel Lights talking team of Debbie, Ted and Stan. Many thanks to our sponsor, G&M Motors. Why not go along, check the Hondas out and see what else they have on site at Gravesend. Our first guest of the evening is a former Lion who began his career as an apprentice at Millwall, making his senior debut in 1978 alongside and on the same team as a great friend of ours, Phil Coleman. He made over 140 senior appearances for Millwall and during his time in the youth team won the same accolade as our Phil Coleman, the FA Youth Cup in 1979. He played for Brentford, Swindon Town, Southend United, Aldershot, Leytonstone and Ilford, Exeter City, Fisher Athletic, Colchester United, and Chesham United. He was player manager of Chesham during the 1994-95 season, which saw them relegated from the Isthmian League Premier Division. He later became a London cab driver and still is. Welcome to the show, Paul Roberts.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good to have you on, mate. I'm going to take you back now to 1973 when he was a pupil at St Edward's Roman Catholic School near Upton Park. Some guy with blonde hair came in, didn't he, and with a load of caps. Could you tell us and the listeners what that was all about, and did it encourage you to make it in the wonderful game?
I wouldn't know whether it encouraged me or not, but obviously I went to school right next to West Ham Football Club, literally where the players used to park their cars for match days. They would use our playground. And I was in the last year of primary school. And obviously, as you just said, the blonde-haired guy came in, was obviously, at the time, Mr. Bobby Moore, which is now obviously was, an idol of everyone. And he brought his caps in. I think he was getting his 100th cap. So they sort of got 99 kids from the school, and we all sat behind Bobby Moore. And the picture was taken in the Daily Mirror, which it's been rerun again, I think, for the last 10 years, and like on the 40th anniversary and the 50th anniversary. So yeah, it was as we said, it was the blonde guy was Bobby Moore.
Hi Paul, it's Ted here.
Hello there, Ted.
All right, mate. So you was born abroad, the other side of the river. Went to school near Upton Park. And whether you were or were not a Millwall fan, what appealed you to joining Lions?
Listen, before I go any further, for some reason or not, I've been on a couple of these Millwall things. And for some reason, it always gets talking about West Ham. And it's like unbelievable because obviously the hatred between West Ham and Millwall fans is unbelievable. Somehow you sort of lead me in to being a West Ham boy. But, all joking apart, I just, obviously we're playing football up to sort of 14, 15, 16. Bob Pearson come over and scouted. I could have gone and signed for West Ham. I always thought that maybe I would get my chance earlier in the Millwall first team, the way the Millwall Football Club was being run at that time. And so it proved I did. But at that time as well, Millwall did have a load of good players. The youth system was very good. And it was, everything that obviously I hoped for did happen. So maybe it was a little bit of luck. I could have gone to QPR. There's a few clubs I could have signed for, but I signed for Millwall.
Very pleased you did. Hi, it's Debbie here, Paul.
Hello there, Debbie.
Hi. By the way, Bobby Moore was my favourite too, as out the secret. How did you find rising through the ranks at Millwall? And who inspired you? And what was it like eventually breaking into the first team?
Well, as for inspiration, I'm not sure there was too much inspiration around the Millwall Football Club at that time, in all honesty. But as I said, somehow Millwall had got a great bunch of young players together. And it's sort of like, as people say now, you was on a journey. That word weren't used in 1979, 78, 79.
No.
But somehow we sort of like was in the FA Youth Cup. And then, we just sort of kept going and going and going. And, it was, as I said, it was an unbelievable season. It was some good play. There were some good characters around in the first team. Obviously, you had Barry Kitchener. You had John Jackson. You had Tony Towner, John Seasman, Dave Donaldson. That was all good lads. But they were sort of really coming to their time as well, that they wanted to leave. And I don't think Millwall Football Club had a lot of money. And it was like an opportunity that, if anything, looking back, which you do look back driving a London taxi, because that's all you'd think about.
Yeah.
There was probably too many players thrown in too early, but you're never going to turn the opportunity down. So sadly, sadly we all was in the team together, and we sort of couldn't really do it in the first team all together because we was a bit too young. But actually, as a youth team, it was we had a very good setup.
Fantastic. Oh, by the way, Jeff Burnage said to say hi.
Yeah, well, I'll obviously say hello to Jeff for me. I mean, his father was a very nice man, Mr. Herbert Burnage, and we had a little bit of dealings to do with him at the time. I have told the story once before. I don't know if it was this station or something else, but his dad was a very fine man and a man of his word, and all the youth team did really respect Mr. Herbert Burnage. Yes, he was a lovely guy.
Well, I was fortunate enough to know him as well. My dad used to play for Millwall a long time ago, well before you. And so I had the pleasure of knowing Bernie as we knew him. But yeah, Herbert, lovely.
Yeah, he was a lovely man. Very lovely man.
Yes.
Hi, Paul. Stan here, mate. Your teammate, Phil Coleman, often reflects on the FA Youth Cup win. We now have a side that might make the final if they defeat Leeds in the semi-final. And so I must ask you, what was the FA Youth Cup final like? And what advice would you give to our under-18s going into their semi-final?
Well, as for a bit of advice, I mean, I don't really think I could give them advice, but sadly, I'm not going to say for Millwall or for Leeds, the Youth Cup semi-finals are only one leg now. Where in 1979, we had a 2-leg semi-final against Everton, and we drew the first leg 0-0, which we actually went down there to try and keep a tight ship because we had a good defence, as in Phil Coleman, Paul Robertson, myself, Dave Martin. But we had a good team and we was very well organised in them days anyway. And that we knew that if we could get them down to Everton with a slender defeat or even a draw, that we'd have a great chance in front of the Millwall crowd. Sadly, for this Millwall team of today, they're going to Leeds in a one-legged affair, which is a little bit, I think, unlucky because maybe you should probably concede it that as Millwall are a little bit lower than Leeds in the league. I know they're in the same division. Maybe they could have the advantage of having the one-leg tie at home. But, before I'd give them advice about the final, all I would say about the semi-final is you just got to hang in there and, just got to keep it tight, hang in there, hopefully get a chance. And if the chance comes, you've got to try. They ain't going to get many chances, I should think, down at Ellen Road because somehow I've been taking a lot of notice of the Youth Cup this year. I don't know if it's a little bit inflated or that, but my good friend Alan Dickens, who used to play for West Ham, had a little bit to do with Barking Football Club, and I think they played Millwall in an earlier round and narrowly got beat. So since then, when Millwall have beat Barking, we've sort of been following their results every round. So, they've done marvellous to get there. But I see that Leeds also did beat Liverpool in the previous round. And Liverpool stuffed Arsenal in the round before that. So if we're going by little things like that, it sounds like Millwall will be the underdogs, which is in their favour as well. So, as long as they can keep it tight and just hang in there and hopefully, get a good chance and take it, and then you just got to see what goes from there. In the previous round, before Everton in 1979, we played Nottingham Forest. I'll just tell you a quick story. And I think we was 3-1 up at home and they came back and drew 3-3. So then we went back to the City Ground. And Notts Forest at the time had players in the European Cup and in the European Cup squad. And we went down to Nottingham Forest and obviously they was massive favourites, a little bit like, as we say, in Millwall and Leeds. And we got absolutely battered, absolutely played off the park to a certain extent. But we held our own, but the chances-wise, it was Notts Forest. Peter Glazier had a blinder, Phil Coleman had a blinder, back four was stood tight, and lucky enough we won 1-0. So that's what can happen, as much as you might not be the better side, you just got to hang in there and hopefully get the result.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul, a friend of the show who listens week in, week out and occasionally appears on the show, wanted to share these words with you, mate.
Mr. Paul Roberts, well, I haven't seen you for a long time. By chance I met you. I was having coffee with some friends and visiting my daughter at work, and a black cab turned up and somebody was in it shouting, how you going, Kingy? To which I obviously hadn't got any idea who it was in it. But when I saw the face and saw the person, it was Paul Roberts, and lovely to see him. He was a good player, underestimated player at Millwall, and had a good career in football. And like a lot of old footballers, he's earning a living driving a black cab. So good luck to him, and all the best to you, Paul.
Some nice words there from Kingy.
Thank you.
Paul, our Phil Coleman has said during your playing days together, and Jeff said this as well, you were a leader. You had the ability to fire up a team, that there was never a dull moment in your company. By the way, another message from Jeff, he did turn around and said, don't exaggerate. Rather rude.
I think go on, sorry.
Go on, sorry, you say it.
I think Jeff and Herbert still owe me a few quid because obviously there was a story about bonuses one day in the FA Youth Cup final, but that's for another time. I'll tell you that story another time. To be honest.
Yeah, we better get Jeff on here. And you could talk much more than he could, is what Phil Coleman said. Is that a fair reflection? And what might you say about Phil?
Yeah, no, listen, I've always been known as don't stop talking. But I'd like to think in a positive way, especially on the pitch. I was always encouraging people, telling them what to do, telling them what not to do. I don't think that was because I was captain. I was just sort of one of them people. Like some people call it a chirpy cockney. Some say this, some say that. But I don't really like all them little cliches. That was just the sort of person I was. And if the chips did ever get down, I never gave up. Never give up. Told, always rallied the boys and what have you. But there was a few in the team. Dave Memmott was probably the most experienced player, and Dave Memmott deserved to be captain of the team. But Dave wasn't really a leader. He liked to sort of concentrate on his own game, and I'm sure that he said to Mr. David Payne, the manager at the time, who we would call Payne, listen, give Robbo the job. Robbo's like the man for the job, because there was players a lot older than me, as in Phil Coleman, as in Ian Gale, Dave Memmott, Chrissy Dibble, and Peter Glazier. Not that goalkeepers was ever captains in them days, but I was like probably the third youngest player in the team behind Dave Martin and Paul Robinson, who were schoolboys at the time in the final. But, it sort of really just come natural to me. And lucky enough, I went on to lead Millwall. Actually, I was captain for Millwall. I think I'm still the youngest player ever to captain Millwall's first team. So, I hope that honour never gets taken away from me. I don't know if too many people know that, but I do tell people over the golf course that because they're all Arsenal and Tottenham fans. But, I think because the record books, I think I am the youngest person ever to captain Millwall Football Club. So, why that honour bestows me, I really appreciate that.
Lovely. That's a badge you should wear. But that's what they were saying, that you were a natural born leader out on the pitch. Yeah, brilliant. So well done.
I'm not too sure too many managers said that about me in the dressing room. So that's why I think I ended up getting let go in the end by George Graham. I think he thinks I had too much to say, but what can you do?
Oh dear. Must meet you soon.
It's okay. Hopefully one day we will, yeah.
Paul, I was talking with Phil, because me and Phil do a monthly podcast for everything, and he mentioned a number of memorable moments in your career that he said I must speak to you about, but to get your take on these things. And funny enough, you were sort of beginning to mention it. The first one, he said, how did you negotiate a bonus with the directors for winning the FA Youth Cup?
Well, Dave Memmott was, like, as I said to you before, was one of the most experienced players, and he loved a pound note. So Davey said to me, I think it was either the semi-final or the final, he said, Robbo, if we get to this Youth Cup final and we win it, he said, we don't get a pound note. He said, we don't get no readies. So I said, well, what do you want me to do, Dave? He said, we ain't, because you have to sign a bonus sheet before you get any money, but we hadn't signed a bonus sheet because obviously no one expected Millwall to go too far. So I said, what do you want me to do? He said, Robbo, you've got to ring them up. Ring up the chairman. I said, well, I can't ring up the chairman. I said, I don't know the chairman's number. So he said, Robbo, he said, ring up Mr. Herbert Burnage. He said, ring up Herbert Burnage. He said, he likes all the youth team. He's the man you've got to get it through to. I said, okay. So we pulled in the hotel. I think it was the Post House. It was either in Manchester or Liverpool. We went down to the reception, and all the boys was going, go on, Robbo. You've got to ring him up. And I said, no. I said, leave it later. Let me do it. Then they cut a long story short. They all stood round me, made sure I rang him up, and then I started negotiating with Mr. Herbert Burnage about money. To negotiate with Mr. Burnage about money, because I think he earned a few quid in the City or whatever game he was in. But he went, Paul, listen, do not worry. He said, we will give you money as long as you get the results. He said, I'm a man of my word, and I promise you that. So I put the phone down and went, boys, don't worry, it's all been sorted. But they said, well, how much we getting? I said, well, I don't know. I said, but it's all be sorted. So, at 16 years of age, I was like negotiating about money. Where you look back now, it was crazy, really. It was absolutely crazy.
Well, following on from that, Paul, the next thing that Phil mentioned to me, he said, ask you, what was it like in the Moulin Rouge, a reward for winning the cup?
Well, can you believe it? Listen, you win the FA Youth Cup. 1979, they decided to take us out to France for the as a present for winning the FA Youth Cup. I mean, the Moulin Rouge is an iconic dance club or what have you, and all of a sudden we were queuing up outside. I think a few of us had bottles of beer in our hands, if I tell you the truth, like bottles of Stella Artois. We're all quite smart, but I'm not too sure it was the right place for 16-18-year-olds from South East London and from East London to be outside the Moulin Rouge. I mean, goodness knows what the punters felt at the time in Gay Paris. That, if anything, we didn't really appreciate it, I think, really. But now when you look back, as we said, it's an iconic place, and hey, listen, it was a wonderful experience. To be honest, with you. I'm not sure we all knew what was going on, but it was a wonderful experience.
That is hilarious.
I'm not sure you can remember too much about it, neither, Paul. But but the last one that Phil said, well, you got to ask him about. He said that game versus Preston, the night after the Youth Cup win. Ask him how did he manage that.
Well, I'd made a league debut as I came on sub in a game. I'll just tell you a quick story, to be honest. Yeah. I came on a sub against Oldham on a Friday night, and I think we got beat 4-1, I think, on a Friday night. And George Petchy made me sub. And I come on with the last 10 minutes to go, or 15, for Dave Donaldson. And as I come on the pitch, which I will lead you to the Preston game, as I come onto the pitch, Simon Stainrod said to me, "What are you doing on the pitch, you little whatever, I won't say it," and spat straight in my face. So I thought, wow. I looked at Barry Kitchener and I looked at Kitchen and said, "What's all that about?" He went, "Paul, welcome to the real world." So that was my actually introduction to football, like first division football, second division football at the time. So I had made a little bit of I had made my debut, but coming back to the Preston game, we won the FA Youth Cup, and then we all went out celebrating to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I think the minibus dropped us off where we ever lived, and that I don't know who drove them. I don't know if it was George Stevens, the old physio, or Davy Payne, who went on to be a policeman, who dropped us all off home. And the next day, the first team was playing against Preston North End. I got a phone call about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and said that David Donaldson's has pulled out, has gone ill. And George said, "You can come, like you're going to make your first team debut." I thought it was a bit of a get-up, to be honest with you, at the time, because, we played the night before, been on the booze with all the boys. I mean, it's terrible to call it the booze because really now the players wouldn't drink, but you were celebrating. And lo and behold, I made my full first team debut against Preston. I think we got beat 2-1. It wasn't a blur, actually. I quite enjoyed the game, but Mick Robertson was playing up front for Preston, who got sold in that summer for £750,000 to Man City, I think. But, it wasn't the greatest start to making your league debut, being out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning as a 17-year-old. I should imagine if you'd done it now, you'd get sacked. You'd get fined 2 weeks' wages. But, that was how I really made my full league debut.
I don't know, Paul, if you're anything like me, I used to play better when I was half drunk. I've got to be honest, Sunday mornings, getting up.
I think Sunday morning might be a bit different to playing in the Football League. So.
Just a little bit, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
You departed Millwall in 1983 to join Brentford for 10k. How did you feel leaving the club after spending so many years here and heading to West London?
How long is this show on for? As long as in all honesty, I don't think we'll have time for me to tell you what happened and what went down. And so, just to put it briefly, it was just a clash of personalities with me and George, and a massive clash of personalities. And listen, it was terrible when I look back. It was absolutely terrible how I ended my career at Millwall. It was absolutely awful, to be honest with you. Awful. That's all I can say. I was I wouldn't say I was forced out because I still went 18 months on my contract, but I was still a young boy, still like 21 years of age at the time, and I played 146 games, league games, I think, and numerous cup games. And, it was just terrible, but there was no way back. I just had a massive big row with George and he wasn't going to give in. And sadly, I wasn't going to give in. And it wasn't the way forward, really. But nowadays, someone would put their arm around you, tell you to do this and to do that, and you might come to your senses. Bob Pearson did try. I must say, he did try, and I just wasn't having it. It was just really, we just had a really big fallout, me and George, to the point that I wasn't the only one. I think I was the first one. And then, but there was numerous players after that, Dean Neal, Davey Martin, and probably a few others you could get on the programme and tell you. But, yeah.
I understand, Paul, that when you returned to play at Millwall for Brentford, you was punched by a Millwall fan. How did all that come about, do you know?
Well, again, I think, it was obviously when I came back to Millwall, me and Dave Martin always had a tag around us that we was West Ham fans. And as I said, that Millwall fans didn't really appreciate that. But as we were sort of really always gave 100% and they sort of took to us and loved us as characters as well as footballers. But then when I've left Millwall and come back, obviously now I'm like a West Ham fan playing against them, So obviously they was giving me unbelievable stick, and I was sort of having a bit of banter with them, and they was calling me names and singing this, and I'm still having a bit of banter with them. And then I was celebrating a goal in jest, and then the next thing, all the crowd tried to invade the pitch, and Terry Urlock was playing for Brentford at the time as well with myself, and obviously good pals with Terry. And he went, "Robbo, watch out, look out!" And as I turned around, the fella tried to chin over the. Obviously, how high them fences was at the Den in the late 70s. I mean, they was huge, and he'd climbed over, threw a punch at me. He didn't hit, and he got escorted off the pitch and what have you. And then after the game, the police come in and nicked me because for inciting a crowd riot. The chairman at the time was Mr. Alan Thorne. And I think Millwall was under a bit of pressure at the time. Maybe they might get their ground closed because of disturbances with the crowd. So they are sort of turn it around. But I ended up going to Crown Court as well and at Tower Bridge and got off with the offence, got not guilty. But again, coming back to Millwall, it was, listen, we won the game, Brentford 2-1. It was great coming back, but it wasn't all singing and dancing. But, listen, that was...
Stan's very sorry about that, Paul, running on the pitch like that. Wouldn't you, Stan?
Listen, his right hand weren't too clever because it didn't connect.
He couldn't do it nowadays.
Listen, I think I've told this story before, but just have a quick story about that game. Stan Bowles, rest in peace, was subbed that day for Brentford. And they asked him, they went, "Stan," Fred Callahan, the manager, said, "Robbo, are you all right? You all right after all the commotion?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." He went, "You sure?" I said, "I'm all right." He went, "Stan, warm up, have a warm up." So Stan went for a warm up, and someone along the sidelines pulled out a big knife and said to Stan, "Stan, if you go on there, you're getting this." So Stan ran back to the bench. He went, "Leave Robbo on there." Fun days.
Really, Paul.
Paul, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. But before you leave us, a couple of things. You mentioned earlier about Dave Mehmet, who we learned this week suffered a stroke and remains in hospital. He does listen to the show normally. Are there some words you might wish to share with the fans about Mem?
I'm glad you brought that up, because if you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up myself. When I found out on Monday, this is really to hear what's gone on. We do know a little bit more than maybe you do, so I'm not going to sort of elaborate on the radio here. But all I will say about Dave Mehmet is that people talk about like legends and this and that, and that sort of phrase is thrown around too easily, to be honest with you. So all I would just say from a personal point of view, and some of the boys in the youth team, it was a pleasure to play with Dave Mehmet, and actually, it was probably in my whole career, and I made 400 odd appearances. He was probably the best player I ever played with, to be honest with you. So, obviously, always we can just pray for David. Hope he's just hope he's comfortable, really, and I hope I get a chance to go and see him in hospital. But if I don't, all the players are thinking of him, and our prayers are for Dave Mehmet and his family. He's a wonderful guy. I was with him last March at a reunion. I always spoke to Davey, but it's sad to hear what's gone on.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, mate. It's a tradition on the show. Could you give us a prediction for Leeds versus Millwall this Sunday?
I'm a betting man, by the way. I'm going to go
3-1 win away at Ellen Road. Take that any day.
but hopefully Millwall will get a result.
Good.
Fantastic. Paul, thank you for coming on. We look forward to hearing from you in the future. There's so much more history to explore and characters to discuss. All the best to you and Sue, who is your audio assistant this evening.
That's correct. Just one last thing I would like to say, that obviously if Millwall do win their semi-final tie, and obviously the other semi-final is Manchester City versus Bristol City, it's unbelievable that like 45 years on, you could have the same final. So it's like an amazing coincidence.
Yeah.
So maybe there is fate out there, and that is going to happen. It will be Millwall Man City, and hopefully it will be played at the new Den. So I don't know how they pick it out the act or what's the criteria for that, but it'd be a wonderful thing, and hopefully we can get so many. If it does happen, hopefully we can get a lot of the 1979 squad back to the Den for the game. Which would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paul, thanks for coming on, mate.
Brilliant.
Thanks
Paul,
for
you're
inviting me.
fantastic.
Cheers. Thank you. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Paul. Cheers.
Welcome.
We'll take a break there and hear from Fisher FC's Paul Owen.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just a £5 if you show your card at the gate.
I'm your host, Mark Staunton, and with me I have the Noel Lions talking team of Debbie, Ted and Stan. Lions away, we can go watch the Fish as they take on Hollands and Blair 3pm kickoff at St Paul Sports Ground in Rotherhithe on Saturday. Let's hear from Ellis Barr now.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos, so you will all know that I don't wear splints as much anymore. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
But the Millwall Romans and Pride not in action last weekend, so no update this week from Paul Loden. But Jeff Burnage did file a report for Maritime Radio following the Millwall Lionesses game away to Dartford on Sunday. Here's Jeff.
Maritime Radio, so Millwall Lionesses headed to Prince's Park in Dartford, determined to get something from Dartford, having been defeated at home 2-1 in the league back in September and losing 3-2 in February in the League Cup at Prince's Park. Jeff Burnage was watching for Maritime Radio.
Millwall Lionesses lost 3-2 to league leaders Dartford yesterday at Prince's Park. The match was due to be played on the stadium pitch, but this was waterlogged, so it was switched to the sodden but playable 4G pitch outside. The Lionesses have had some wretched luck at Dartford in recent times, and they had plenty more in this match. They lost 3 important players with injuries in this physical first half of the match. First, right back Hope Welsh. She went on 19 minutes, with Grace Seeley coming on. Dartford made it 1-0 on the 25-minute mark before centre-forward Liv McGregor landed awkwardly after an aerial challenge and was carried off on 40 minutes. Chloe Francis followed 2 minutes later when her knee ballooned up after an earlier foul. They were replaced by Melissa Jones and Shana Jordani. You could be forgiven for thinking that Millwall could not cope with these misfortunes, but they came out fighting in the second half and in very positive mode, and Emel Hussein equalised in the 51st minute. Shannon Drew had a couple of other efforts, first one over the bar and then another saved by the keeper, but then she put the Lionesses ahead on 66 minutes. Dartford dominated from then on, but it took a highly debatable free kick converted by Joe Woodgates to bring the scores level on the 80-minute mark. It was another heartbreaker for the Lionesses when Dartford scored the winner in stoppage time through Emily Vaughan.
Thanks, Jeff. The Lionesses are not in action now until the 24th of March when they are away to Ebbsfleet, and I'm sure we'll have an update from Jeff ahead of that fixture and hear about the Under-18s Cup exploits too. It's Maritime Radio, all your favourite music, everything local for South East London and North West Kent.
Now then, panel. Unbeaten since Harris's return, and next week we take on the high and flying Leeds United, who are unbeaten in the league since December 29th. Can I get a prediction on the score? Debbie, we'll start with you.
It's going to be a real challenge indeed, but play very well when we go to Leeds. So I'm going to go 2-1. I'm very optimistic.
Wow, fantastic. Stan, how about you, mate?
I just say, I think we're more than capable of going up there and getting a result. I'll go for a 2-1 win.
Wow. Ted, full house?
Oh, of course. We've all gone mad, haven't we? Harris has scrambled our brains, I think, keep winning these football matches. But look, our dream of being the first team to beat Leeds in 2024, they've got to lose somewhere along the line. They've been close to 1 or 2 games of losing. But I think if we can keep it tight, don't give anything away in the first 20 minutes, I think the Leeds fans might start getting on to their team's back, and that might be when we can pounce. And we've been so good defensive. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Millwall, and I could even tell you who the goal scorer is going to be if you want. Miles?
Off you go, mate.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't said that now. No, I think, do you know what? I've got a sneaky feeling that Zion Fleming's going to score with a free kick. So there you go. You heard it here first.
Well, Ted, you've nearly made me swallow my teeth. I was going to go over 1-1 draw, but everyone's gone with a win, so I don't want to be the negative person on here. So I'm going to go over 2-1 win. Yeah, go on. We'll go for another 90th minute winner.
Hope Zane comes through there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take a break there and hear from Bethany Manxlow talking about Clean Feed.
Bethany Manxlow here. Clean Feed by Ted Robinson.
Hold up. We're talking about an online recording platform.
Okay. Our Ted Robinson sponsors our online Clean Feed recording platform.
What were you thinking of?
Well, it sounded like a Parfum D'Homme Intense.
Really?
Behave. Just go online and see who else uses Clean Feed. It's a great bit of kit at a great price.
I'm Rose Miles Thornton, and with me are the Noel talking team of Debbie, the famous Ted Robinson, and Stan. What a star you are, Ted, and Clean Feed is, well, just the job.
If only I understood it, Miles. I still don't get it, but there you go.
How many times have we played that?
I know. Someone will let me in on a secret one day.
Our second guest this evening hauls from Debrecen, which is about 2 hours by transport to the east of Budapest. About 13 years ago, he moved from being a telemarketer in Hungary at the behest of a woman friend who convinced him that life in the UK would be politically more positive than in Hungary. Today, he is in the mix with such personalities as Mark Billy Billingham, MBE, who is TV's most experienced, highest ranking, most decorated SAS leader, and Ari's mate Frank Bruno. He is also a prominent donator to the Lions Food Hub. Welcome to the show, Tamas Kovacs.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really great to be here.
Have you on?
Yes.
Evening, Tamas.
Hello, everyone.
Before I hand you over to the panel, you're one of many Hungarians based both in the UK and within Europe who follow Millwall.
Yep.
How did you come to become a Denzian, and when did it all begin?
Yeah, so it's thank you for the question. It really goes back, I think, to more than 20 years now, back at home, when we just get a bit of feedback about, I think it was 98 or previous 98, about World Cup, Euros and so on. So when English football supporters, or as the media and the tabloids framed the supporters as hooligans, came off and so on. So it was a bit of kind of marketing, let's say, so a bit of different news outlets, but it was England in general. So my first meeting or intercourse, I guess, was back to Danny Dyer's and of course the movie as well, the Football Factory, which I mean by that, as well as the book. And then like many different things came across from various of channels and tabloids, such as like the Green Street, as well when Ferencváros met with Millwall, and that time how the media framed or showed Millwall as a football club, I started to get curious, and then I did a bit of like history research. But then after, when I finally ended up here, I was able to get into the den and like experience myself what is this whole craziness, and like obviously in a good sense is about, and what are the people about, and I see it's like completely almost the same, as well as in a positive way different.
Yeah, we roar like lions, but we're very warm people. Hi,
Yes,
Tamas,
indeed.
it's Debbie. Debbie Julian's here. Since you followed the Lions, what match is your most memorable game?
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. Thank you for the question. Briefly, I think when I see my favorite moment was when I see also and experience kind of like the transition, especially from the U18 and U21. But my favorite moment, I think the current one against Birmingham, when we changed the vibe and everything, because for me, the fun fact, I went into one of the pubs to just like before the game, because I was like not feeling it, and somehow I was able to get back, especially for the second half, and it was like when you feel the crowd and everything was together, it was like such a mind-blowing moment.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? There's no other sound like it, is there? Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Hi, Tamas. It's Ted here.
Hello.
Hello, mate. Who's your favourite player from the past, and who's your favourite player within the current team?
Yeah, so from the past, I think I'm gonna go with the Teddy Sheringham or Neil Harris, Barry Kitchener trio as usual. And from the current one, it's kind of like a tricky, but because people tend to put down Sharkic or Sarkic, our goalkeeper, and somehow I just like feel different opinions and different expectations from him. But I definitely get a heads up. And maybe Taranga as well. He's very good, and he's currently scoring and getting into good positions and recognizing situations. So definitely he's a good one. Yeah, but I can't really like get one-on-ones, because like I like the squad as in general. But for me, from the past, as I mentioned, it's going to be the Teddy Sheringham, Neil Harris, who is like currently helping out the team, and Barry Kitchener, and Sarkic or Sharkic, I don't know how you pronounce, as well as Taranga.
All wonderful choices, mate. All very good players. And I agree with Sarkic. I think he got a little bit of stick when he started, but I think he's going to be a very, very good goalkeeper.
Yeah, indeed. Because he's showing many like passion, motivation, and many things, which is kind of like current for a goalkeeper. And when we don't have the moment or actually failing down, he's the last position who is like getting the team together.
Watch it, Tamas. I'm Stan. Great to talk with you. It's fantastic that you contribute to the Lions Food Hub. I also understand that you would like to volunteer at the Millwall Community Trust. How did all this come about, mate?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Miles. How did it come across? I just like ended up, I always have this kind of like spirit or I would like to get back to my community and get things together, because obviously when you see a community is thriving, then it's affecting like not just like one-to-one, but as a whole group. So as soon as this get into the right hands, hopefully it's gonna influence other people, and like so many partnerships and affiliations and so on. So I'm kind of like not just like good spirited or social minded, but also business driven, and hopefully the two is gonna get together because I'm hospitality related. My background is mainly hospitality, but also some of the business here and there, and hopefully with my skills is gonna kind of like match up or pair up with the Lions, and we can get together and thrive together and grow together for the future, because that's my goals, inspiration, aspiration, whatever we call it. And I try to give this vibe or give this energy or point of view everywhere where I talk to people, relate to people, either if it's gonna be like in the community hub, either if it's gonna be in Facebook groups or wherever I can pop in and help out. And that's my goal, or that's my goal for the future as well.
Yeah, right. Okay, mate. Sounds good.
Just a bit of heads up for many things who is currently at the hub and working, either if it's gonna be Kerry, Ellen, or other people, maybe Sue, who is doing their work and doing their dedicated work regularly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you're in hospitality then, Tamas.
I used to work in hospitality, like usually 4 and 5 star hotels. I have been from front of house, back of house, doing like many different places, different positions, small, big things, festivals. I did work in Camden's Locks 17. I did work in like Jersey, Soho. Like I work in many places. Maybe you can name a 4 or 5 star hotel in the central. I worked there either with agency or different things, and as well as festivals like VR1 and other festivals as well.
Great. We've most probably crossed our paths, in the past.
Yeah.
Tamas, thank you very much for joining us, sharing your most interesting story. All the best, and bye for now.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Tamas, it's a real pleasure.
It was a pleasure indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we head to a break, let's hear from another tale from Phil Coleman's Boot Room.
Hi everyone, Phil Coleman here again for a few more stories back in the day. So I'm going back to my final year at school. I was age 16. Don't worry, it does lead to everything Millwall. In them days, I used to bunk off school to play in the midweek league games. Getting battered as a 16-year-old playing against those top strikers and top teams. But on one occasion, bunking off got me the cane. Even though my head teacher loved his football and built a grammar school that played football, he had to follow the rules. It was a good job he never caught me more often. My school was Rome Grammar School back then, next to Greenwich Park. It was a football playing grammar school, which was a bit different, with great pitches opposite Sutcliffe Park down in Kibble Park Road. In my last year at school, we won the English Schools Under-18s Cup. We beat St Philip's College 4-1 at Birmingham City's ground. In that school team, I played alongside some top young players. My great mate Gary McWhite, who went on to Manchester United, QPR and Derby, Gillingham, and David Campbell, who was playing for the school and the college team as an under-18, but was also playing in Charlton's first team. You work that one out these days. In fact, I remember Charlton Athletic had a first team game on the same night as the English Schools final. And our head teacher had to phone up the Charlton manager, Andy Nelson, to tell him that Dave wouldn't be playing in the first team as he was pulling rank, and Dave would be playing in the English Schools FA final. Imagine that now. I scored in that final, so nice little double for me. Won the English Schools Under-18s and the FA Youth Cup with Millwall, and I scored in both finals. Not sure too many people have done that. My head teacher on that final also chartered a train from Euston to Birmingham so that every single student and teacher from the school, Rome, could watch us play. So there's about 700 kids and staff all went on a train to Birmingham. We had amazing support there. I've got to give a big shout out to my PE teacher, Bernie Turner. I owe him a lot. Not only did he pick me for the school football team, which enabled the likes of Joe Broadfoot, Millwall legend, to pick me up and send me to Millwall for training, but also I learnt a lot off Bernie as a youngster, and that saved me well for when I became a PE teacher in my own right. Well, playing for the school, Blackheath District and London County led me to a tour for Mill's under-16s to Belgium in the Easter holidays of my final year at school. I remember Billy Neal, Bob Pearson taking the trip. That was just before I was about to leave school. I played well on that trip, and shortly after getting back, I was formally offered an apprenticeship by Millwall. It was a 2-year contract, and I had the massive wage of £16 per week, 1977. My mum got £20 a week for lodgings, I got £5 expenses, and if we won a youth team or a reserve game, I got £3 a win as well. As soon as I finished my last exam that summer, I was down the den full time, training away every single day and doing those bloody awful jobs around the ground, which, to be fair, was part and parcel of the deal. But I was also along with my mates, and they were the likes of Dave Memmott, Ian Gale, Peter Glazier, Chris Dibble, Chris Jarvis, Morgan Evans, but unfortunately Chris and Morgan never signed pro. My first full pre-season with the first team and the youth team together was based at Richardson Evans Sports Ground near Richmond Park on the A3. We travelled over every day for cross-country runs around Wimbledon Common and running up and down the hills in Richmond Park, which was brutal. I seem to recall a few lads, probably gaily, cutting corners on the long-distance runs, but I remember they also got lost in the woods, so ran even further, trying to get back in time. We were mixing with the senior pros, and that was great. And for the first time, we were introduced to our new manager and coach, Mr. Oscar Arthey. I could spend hours talking about Oscar, so I'll probably save that for the next episode. On this piece, I'd like to finish by talking about one great bloke and player from my youth who I grew up with, and it's Dave Memmott. As some of you might know, Dave is currently in hospital after having a stroke. Dave was the most talented and gifted player ever. His ball control, passing with both feet was outstanding. He could find space in a phone box and scored loads of goals for the youth team reserves and even some for the first team. Some training sessions under Oscar Arthey would involve juggling a tennis ball for about an hour while the first team lapped the track. Dave was in his element, and it was like the tennis ball was stuck to his boot. Meanwhile, I was running around all over the place trying to catch this goddamn tennis ball. He was the first player from our group of youth team players to play in the first team. I think he was only 16 years old. Back then, Dave got kicked and knocked around by defenders, but he always came back fighting and was a solid, reliable and quality player. Dave had 2 spells at the Den at the same time as myself and played over 130 games. He's one of our own. He's a family friend who supported me and my brother over the years. I've received loads of messages of support for Dave, and I know myself, family, our ex-teammates and all the fans at Millwall are sending Dave loads of strength as he fights this one. Come on, Dave, you can make it. Bye for now.
Brilliant stuff, Phil, and I'm sure all Millwall fans wish Dave Memmott all the best. I certainly do, and I'm sure the rest of the team do. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Manctolo talking about how you can sponsor the Millwall Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust, something that I, Bethany Manctolo, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985, works to provide sporting, education, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability issues. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. They have sponsorship opportunities to support this work. Email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That is email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. Please help if you can.
I'm your host, Mark Staunton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Debbie, Ted and Stan. If you could donate, you will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. We're all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
Millwall Football Club is pleased to offer supporters the same Super Saver period prices as last year for the launch of 2024-25 season tickets. The price freeze is valid until Wednesday the 3rd of April, after which prices will increase. Stan renewed his this week.
Next week, the show will be back with our very own Italia Conti-trained Bethany. She returns from treading the boards in a fantastic production of All Shook Up, where she was an outstanding leading woman in a brilliant cast. She will host myself, Dave and Steve on the panel, with a couple of guests too. Bethany might even give us a few renditions of a few Presley lyrics, if we're lucky. Let's hope so.
Millwall Football Club will celebrate the return of its popular Dockers Day on Good Friday as the Lions take on West Bromwich Albion in the Sky Bet Championship, kick-off at 1 p.m. Dockers Day reminisces on the heritage and the roots of the Lions, with a host of Dockers and former players of the club's 1971-72 side to be present in SC16. You heard from Kingy earlier. He will be there.
Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us talking team, bring reports from our games, both home and away, both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters too, on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, social media sites and all popular podcast sites. That's it from me. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Cheers, Miles.
And thanks, Stan.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
And thank you all for listening. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.